Hi guys, so today we're talking about trims. A trim is a decorative edge to a tile basically. We use it for going around the corner of tiles, we use it for trimming up the windows, the reveals or boxes, or any exposed edge of a tile will be finished off with a trim if it is not going up against another wall. Okay, now trims, you can get different versions of them. You know, a common UPVC trim, round edge, these are the ones that we teach with at the school mainly because they're quite inexpensive. Or if any of you guys done a longer course, maybe a diploma, you'll have had the chance to work with some aluminium trims. More expensive, comes in at about £10 a trim. You get a whole different range. They come in different sizes, depending the tile that you're working with will obviously dictate the thickness or the depth of the trim. Okay, so you get 6mm trim, 8mm trim, 10mm, 12mm, and you can get larger trims as well, which are usually special order. Okay, one company that is very good with all this stuff is actually Genesis, and this is a sample box that I will actually take to my customers when I'm doing jobs, and as you can see there's a massive range of colours. So you've got all your common stuff like your brushed steel, aluminium, and then you know you've got white, soft grey. And then you've got what you call powder coated trims, which are really nice, like granite, dark granite. We've got copper, gold, brass. So really a good range of trims, really great quality stuff as well. You also get these decorative edges, so they're not a trim as such, they're just like a filler, I like to call them, and I use these quite a bit when I'm going around maybe a feature for a mirror, so I'll create the hole in the tiles and then I'll trim around with this stuff and then I'll put the mirror in after. So it's quite handy. I always talk my customers into the flat edge trim, okay? Anybody who's had any experience with tiling will know that it is extremely difficult to create a good corner edge with a rounded trim, unless you do a 6-way mitre, which we used to teach here, but they really are a pain in the arse, guys. Otherwise, you do get your little clipping corner pieces now, which you can get. But I've never been a fan of those, to be honest with you. I just don't think they look great. So with a flat edge trim, you can create 2 mitres, okay, and then you can have your trim coming up below, and it doesn't leave you that horrible pointy edge that you get with the rounded trim. Okay, so let's go and demonstrate how we fix these into position then. So one of the first things that I want to do before I start cutting my trims is to create a little tick in each corner of my window, angling out, okay? This is going to help me figure out what angle I need to cut on my trim, okay? Simple to do. If you're using natural stone tiles, be careful with this, because obviously if you do a really harsh mark with a pencil, you might not get it out. So I have got my trim cut down to size, and now what I want to do is I want to get my first angle marked on the trim, So if I hold the trim up against the window, I can see my line in the corner is going out to the bottom right hand side. I'm just going to draw that on the trim like so. This is simply a guide, this isn't the mark we're going to cut. Next thing we're going to do is take it over to the mitre and cut it. Okay guys, so I've cut my first angle. Now I want to get my second mark, okay, and this is the important one. This needs to be accurate. And the best way to do this, instead of just using a measuring tape, which is very flimsy, very difficult to do, just simply get the trim, flip it around, and then you can get your exact mark on the opposite side. Exact. And there we go. Now what we want to do is we want to deduct a millimetre if you want to keep it tight to the tile. In this instance we want a 2mm gap around the window, so therefore we are going to deduct 1, 2, 3, 4, 5mm altogether. So go ahead and do that. As we can see, my mark minus 5mm, and then I've created the angle for my secondary mitre cut. So here we go guys, this is a nice easy setup that you can do on jobs. A bit of 3x2 timber clamped to your workstation, whatever your workstation is, whether it's just a little steel table, ruby table, or if you've manufactured your own bit of board on a couple of trestles, simply clamp down the 3x2, and then the trim that you're working with can then get clamped into position. So that when you are doing your cuts, it does not move. This is very important when you are cutting steel or aluminium trim, because if you do not clamp it down, then what it will do is when you're holding it, it will shake and it will jump, and you will inevitably scratch your trim, and then it's obviously for the bin at that point. And as we well know, some trims can cost, you know, £10 a strip. Some trims can cost about £60 a strip, so it's very important that you get set up correctly. So there's my first trim, cut to size. Check that your mitres are correct. Okay. If they are out at this stage, then you can give them a little file with a metal file. Okay. And that is ready to be glued into position. Repeat this process around the window, one side at a time. Okay, once you've got all 4 trims cut, you can then glue them into position, adjust if necessary using your metal file, and that's how we do it guys. Okay, take your time, make sure the trims are clamped down in position when you're cutting them, and make sure you work with a sharp pencil, sharp China marker at all times, so that your marks are accurate. And last but not least, don't bother trying to measure them with a measuring tape. Just use the trims themselves to get the measurements. Okay guys, so now we're ready to put the trims into position. The first thing we want to do is we want to mix ourselves some adhesive up. Now the best adhesive to use in this scenario is a rapid set, quick set adhesive, okay? So mix yourself a bit up, mix it a little bit thicker than the usual mix. Okay, so it doesn't slump and slide down. So I would usually use like a bulk quick set, rapid set white adhesive would be like an example of what I would use here. And I'm just going to apply it around the window, and as you can see there's a wee bit of thickness to it, so that the trimmer's got something to bed into, so that it's securely fixed into position. If there's not enough adhesive underneath it, or you'll see some guys trying to put the adhesive on the trim itself, you'll find it just sort of flails about and there's little gaps and it doesn't get secured correctly, and when you come to grout it, it moves, etc. So you want to make sure it's bedded in correctly. So get the trim, and stick it into position. Now, as we know with this one, we've factored in a 2mm gap around the edge of the trim itself, so we can put a 2mm spacer in. And the next thing you want to watch out for is that the trim is sitting flush. It's not dipping down or dipping up, it's sitting nice and level, sorry, is the word I'm looking for. Okay, if it's sitting down, then what's going to happen is when your trims meet, they're not going to meet correctly. If it's sitting up, then what can happen is when you go to put your reveal tiles in, sometimes because the trim is coming up at an angle, your tiles will sit above the trim itself and it looks untidy. Okay, so take your time with this part. And there we go. So I'm going to continue that now all the way around the window. Next thing I want to do, guys, I want to go around with my trowel and just get any excess adhesive from the back of the trim. Last but not least, I'm going to get my little pinky and I'm going to go around the trim itself and make sure there's absolutely no adhesive behind there, because if that hardens, when you come to put in your reveal tiles, they will not go in and then you'll have to chisel it out, risk marking the trim itself. Okay guys, so that's my trims into position. At this stage you want to make sure that everything's perfect so that all your miters meet correctly. This is your time to do those adjustments. And then once you're happy, you leave it, okay? Walk away, leave it for about half an hour. With being a rapid set adhesive, it's gonna set nice and steady so it won't move, and then you can go on to the next stage, which is tiling the reveals. Okay guys, see you back in half an hour. Right guys, so there you have it, trimming a window for tiling. As you can see, it's not that difficult. You just need to take your time, make sure your trims are clamped down when you're working on them, and make sure that you take your time putting them in and cleaning them up as well. One point to note when you're doing this, you're obviously going to get adhesive coming through the trims, etc. If you try to clean them up too vigorously when everything's fresh, you end up disturbing the trims, you know. So if you just wait maybe 20 minutes until the adhesive starts going off, till it gets like flapjack, okay, then you can use your nylon brushes and you can just get in the cracks, in the gaps, sorry, and just rake out the adhesive and get it pristine. Okay guys, next what we're going to talk about is how to create a mitre for the edge, for the corner of a tile, you know. So if you're coming like around the splashback, past your units, and obviously you want to slide the trim behind the tile to give it a good finished edge, but you also want to create a nice mitre so that when the tiles join, they look perfect, and you haven't got like a, you know, a non-mitered edge. We've all seen it where somebody's just put a bit of trim on and then stacked a bit of trim on top. It looks awful, doesn't it? So we're just going to cover that just now. Now as you can see, this has already been grouted. Okay, so what I've basically done is I've just pulled out the trim that was in there. But anybody who's been on the course will know that when we're doing the tile and we leave a little distance, maybe a thumb's distance from around the top of the tile, which allows us to slide the trim in and work uninterrupted, so we can take our time and get the trim perfected. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is get a piece of trim that's kicking about and just slide it behind the tile and just mark with a sharp pencil very lightly where my limit is. So I do not want to you know, get this measurement wrong, so that will allow me to get the exact measurement minus a couple of mils stress gap. So using my measuring tape, I'm going to measure from the unit to my pencil mark, and that is 459 millimeters. 459, and you want to minus a couple of mils. 457 millimeters is what I'm going to cut my trim to. So at this stage guys, ideally what you want to use is the factory edge of the tile for your mitre. Okay, so figure out which edge of the trim that is. So if this was to slide behind my tile, this edge down here would be my factory edge. So I'm going to measure from here, 457 millimeters. And now I'm going to create a straight cut. No angle to this cut, it's just a straight cut. And there's the first one cut. Do the same with the other side of the tile. So we've done the top piece, we want to do the side piece now, so I'm going to go and take that measurement, come back and cut that. Now the best way to do this is with a metal file, okay? Get it onto a sturdy background and just file away. And if you go 10 files at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you can keep it nice and controlled. And you can see we're not far off there now. Maybe one more. Okay. Don't know how well you can see that, guys. This one needs a little bit of work. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to get rid of the corners of the trim, otherwise they won't be able to meet. There's two ways we can do this. You can cut them on your wet cutter, okay? Aluminium is quite soft, so you can just give it a weak cut, like a little corner section, okay? Or you can cut them with your hacksaw. And as you can see, we have a nice mitre there. There we have it, guys, a nice mitre. Okay guys, I hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, give us a thumbs up, put some comments in the box, let us know what other videos you would like to see, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers guys.